Welcome. Welcome back to the Live Higher podcast. I am Dr. Marco, and with me today I've got Drew. And Drew and I met how many years ago now? It was probably like 2017, 2016.
It's been a long, we're coming up on 10 years.
Yeah.
It's pretty close to that. I know it is. I know it was before COVID.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was probably 2016 or 2017.
Yeah,
one of
definitely.
those. So we've known each other for a long time, and Drew and I have a ton in common. We have really gotten along and have been really thick as thieves since day one. We just share so many common interests. Drew, just tell us a little bit about who you are and why anybody should care about what we're going to be talking about today, which, let me introduce our topic. We're going to be talking about fit after 40. So in addition to all the things we have common, we were both born in 1985.
Yes.
And just celebrated our 40th birthdays. And we're both super dedicated to staying fit, really for a lifetime.
For sure.
So who are you? What do you do? Why should anybody care?
Yeah, well, I don't know if they'll care about me, but hopefully more about what I say about being fit over 40. But a little bit about myself. I'm literally probably a lifetime athlete. I look at myself maybe as a retired athlete nowadays, but definitely grew up playing sports, as many sports as I could. Baseball, football, soccer, track, hockey, you named it. I probably played it at some point. I really enjoyed just being active growing up. After high school, I went and played a little ball for baseball. That was my real main thing. And then it wasn't doing all that great, so I decided to join the military with doing a little bit of college experience, but got to get a lot of lifetime experience being in the military, probably just like you did. We have that in common as well. I was a hospital corpsman in the Navy for 10 years on the operational side. I wasn't in a hospital or anything like that. So I have a few combat tours under my belt, overseas to Afghanistan and a couple to Southeast Asia. Got to really experience healthcare I would say in a socialist type setting, which I don't agree with these days, and we can talk about that on another podcast. But I got a lot of great experience from that, not just on the medicine side, but a lot of the sports rehab side. And I'm blessed that I got that experience because it really transferred into what I'm doing today as being a trainer and a gym owner, because I learned how to modify and rehab people based off their injuries and work with chiropractors and physical therapists and get that kind of feedback, so that way I can better train my people. So I have that under my belt. I am also I have my exercise science degree. I love the science side behind exercise. I won't bore anybody with studies today, but I'll give you some fun facts. But I am a nerd when it comes to reading about studies that not only are going to benefit me, but also my clients. So that's a little history about me personally, but as far as professionally these days, I am the gym owner of CrossFit Unrivaled. So I do specialize in CrossFit. Don't get upset. All right. But I've been doing that for 15 years. I've been doing CrossFit for almost 20 years. So it's been a wild journey. And I'm sure, as you know, being a business owner is an up and down roller coaster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Roller coaster.
We've always shared our stories.
Yes. 100% roller coaster.
Being a business owner is not for the faint of heart. That's for sure. But I've been a gym owner for 15 years now. I love it. I hate it sometimes, but I always come back to it. But it's been great. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. And, my season of life, I guess. And now that I'm 40, I am, and this is what we're going to talk about, learning to modify my training and my clients' training based off of my experiences, as well as what I'm learning from everybody else. So,
yeah, I'll be the first to say that as a 20 and 30-year-old, I didn't fully grasp what 40 meant. At all.
Totally.
And I kind of looked at it as this thing that wasn't going to happen to me. And I think that a lot of young people, especially young athletes, look at not just older individuals, but also older athletes and just think that that's not going to happen to me. And that you can just kind of like will that into existence just because that's your desire.
Yeah, you're Superman, you're invincible forever.
Yeah, 100%. Now, the first thing I think we want to get into here is, what do you see change the most when guys hit their 40s? And just because we're both men, we're going to really speak to fitness after 40 for men. I think we would be better served with a female athlete guest,
Sure.
Who's, exercised and, been an athlete well into after her 40s to really speak to that. And so we're just going to talk about what we know. But what do you really see change the most?
Well, I mean, the thing you got to think about is when you're in your early 40s or late 40s, you're in a different phase of your life, whether it be as a family person or a career person. Most of us, start our families in the mid to late 20s, maybe early 30s. So, and that's also when some careers are just getting going. So I see a lot of maybe the former athlete, right, now getting into their 40s, not realizing now that they've got a desk job. They're working an 8 to 4, 9 to 5 gig, but they're sitting for 8 hours a day. No, and not like they were as a young athlete, training in the morning, training in the afternoon, practice, games, staying active. And they went from, doing a million things a day to now doing very little a day. And, you throw in a family, that just now adds more work to the mix. And, I know for you and like me, my kids are starting to get older. We're getting into more after school activities, sports, those kind of things. So now there's less time to focus on your attention. So when I see people in the gym, a lot of the things that don't change right away is the mindset. They still think, like you talk about, that 20, 30-year-old I'm invincible mentality. I'm going to train like I did when I was an athlete growing up, and I'm going to go hard. That's just not the reality anymore. And especially when you start becoming more into a sedentary lifestyle of, and I'm not saying that it's, I would say neglectful. That's, your job. Like you're now working to provide, but you got to change that mentality. And unfortunately, we're seeing a lot of people that are training like they're 20 and 30 again at that 40, 45 plus, and now they're getting hurt because they're not focusing on proper training, proper recovery, or even worse, proper nutrition.
Yeah. So you just casually mentioned two huge things, and I want to just slow down and talk about the two things. So the first thing that you mentioned is one that I didn't really even think about as I was preparing myself for this conversation, and that was the logistical challenge.
Yeah.
So a lot of times in adult after 40, you just have less time.
Yeah.
I remember
totally.
being young with no kids, not married, right? Thinking I had no time, but I had no idea.
It's such a different ballgame now.
I had no idea how much time I actually had.
Yeah.
So we have to do more with less.
Correct.
And we have to be more efficient in that. So that's the first thing. The first thing is that logistical challenge. I guess you mentioned three things. So then the other thing that you mentioned was being pushed into a more sedentary lifestyle.
Yep.
Whether, you're sitting at a desk or you're standing behind a desk, it's still much more sedentary than we'd ever been in our entire lives. And I think the lens from which you were speaking from right now was seeing somebody trying to get fit again.
Right.
Versus somebody who's kind of been into it the whole time.
Correct.
And then the other thing that you mentioned was having not changed the mentality, which I think is a huge component. And I see this all the time because I get patients that come to the practice, and after they start feeling better, they get out of pain, right? And then they want to then start getting more fit, more active. And I would say probably 95% of the time, at least that much. The person that I'm speaking to, and this goes for males and females, maybe mostly males, but the mentality is that they're going to do what they did in their 20s that worked back then to try to get back there.
Right.
And that's just, like you said, it's not the reality. The
well, they're not even in the same starting place anymore.
No, they're not. But, the strategies, the workouts, the rhythm that got you to where you're at is not going to be the same strategies, rhythm
Right.
that's going to get you to where you want to be. It just doesn't work that way.
1,000%.
When I was presented with, that question, what do I see change most for guys in their 40s? For me personally, it was the recovery component.
Oh, yeah.
Like how long it takes to recover after a workout or after a hard work day or after a bad night's sleep. Like
That's a
how
big one.
long does it take to recover after one beer at this point?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that recovery piece and how long that takes to accomplish, I found physiologically to be a huge difference.
Oh, no doubt. Just to touch on the recovery aspect, and my personal history with my injuries, that was my biggest motivation for changing how I trained, was my not just sports injuries that I've had over the years playing sports, but my service time. There's some things that I developed and had injured and had to have surgery on, and that affected how I trained. So a lot of times the recovery needs to be twofold, like injury side prevention, but also the mental side of everything. But a lot of people don't touch on that. But the big thing that, like you mentioned, is I would say the alcohol and the nutrition with the recovery. Now, volume, and we can dive way more into this here in a few minutes, but when you're drinking alcohol, like I have arthritis, right? I've had multiple foot surgeries. I have alcohol, my arthritis flare up through the roof. I can't train like I want to train the next day. So I couldn't tell you the last time I had a drink. I don't like that, and that's a big aspect of it. But the sleep, that is huge. That is huge. And, for somebody like yourself and me, we have multiple kids. I just remember those days as the baby days when they were, keeping us up at night, and that played a huge part into my training. So if you're not getting good sleep, if you're not having good nutrition, and you're putting stuff in your body that's going to cause inflammation, that right there is going to really affect how you recover. Are you going to be recovering in the next day? Are you going to recover in one day? Or are you going to take 2 or 3 days? I mean, I know I remember probably a year ago, we went on a vacation and I had a few drinks, and it felt like it took me 2 days just to recover from just 3 or 4 drinks, because I don't drink.
Easy
And
to
I'm just
recovery.
not myself. So,
Yep. So let's organize our conversation.
sure, let's do it.
And that way we can really give somebody who's listening to this some like things to work on in a very structured way. So we've already touched on number 1, logistics. We touched on recovery, and we touched on mindset. I think the logistics part of that, we can probably have a very brief conversation about that. And the reality is that if you're an adult with a lot of things going on in your life, the reality is that you just have to be more conscientious, focused, and efficient with your time.
Time management, big time.
Right.
Yep.
So, I'm just getting back into the gym now again, and I've been absent from it for a while. Life just took me in a different direction for a while. I just didn't have the bandwidth or the time. So I didn't stop working out. My workouts started looking like home workouts, doing beach body with some dumbbells with my wife. But in order to get back to the CrossFit gym, which is what I really wanted to do, and I wanted to do it regularly, my workout time is 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality. It might not be 5 a.m. for everybody.
Sure.
But it's about making sure you can set a firm boundary for yourself that you're going to dedicate this time for you to achieve your goals. And it's got to be at a time that's not taking away from either your career or your family.
Yep.
So whether it's a late night thing, or you got some time squirreled away, like, on a lunch break or whatever, or like, myself, before everybody even wakes up and the world even gets moving, like that boundary has to be a firm boundary.
But also you need to have a support system that is behind you.
100%.
And if and I see this all the time with a lot of my clients, is if the spouses are not on the same page and it's causing conflict, that has to be resolved. Like, you guys have to be a team, but like you said, you got to make it a priority, and it has to come down to, setting, boundaries like you're talking about, but blocking off time that, it's like, okay, that is my time, whether it be 5 a.m., a lunch break, or hey, after the kids go to bed, I'm going to go do my little Beachbody dumbbell workout downstairs in the garage or something, but you got to set boundaries, and you got to have a support system, because if a support system is very crucial to this. And whether it's strength training, weight loss, whatever the case is, if all your training is doing is causing conflict at home, then it's not going to last.
Yeah, it's not sustainable.
No.
You can't live in that, that push pull.
No,
it's not going to happen. And health is that. It's so important that if you're in a partnership, that both partners are on board with the health journey.
And that's everything, though.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
I mean, I'm no couples counselor, but
no,
I mean, I just know that, hey, you got to be a team.
Yeah.
So
100%. Love that. So let's move into the mindset shift.
Sure.
I think we can spend some time here. So you competed in CrossFit competitively,
yes,
right? You competed in various other sports competitively. I myself was a competitive wrestler all throughout high school.
Still are now, I heard.
Yeah, I dabble. Gotta make sure I still got it.
Yeah.
And there was a season where when I first started CrossFit, after I, achieved, the ability to do all the movements and stuff, I wanted to kind of experience the whole competition thing.
Yeah. It's fun.
So technically, you are a competitive athlete when you do that, So what's the mindset shift for you now? Like, what's different for Drew now as he, mentally approaches fitness, health, exercise, the whole thing?
I think for me, coming from my background as an athlete, high school, a little bit of college, and then, even as a tactical athlete, you could say, right? Because I had to be very well prepared even in that military setting. And then transferring it into a CrossFit competitive atmosphere. Now that I'm in my 40s, it's like, well, I think I'm still an athlete, but I look at more of myself as now I'm an experienced athlete. I am learning how to shift my mindset to more of a discipline, resilience, and grit mentality that I still used back then. But now my focus is, okay, I'm going to use that to time manage because I got to balance my family, my gym, my training with my clients, and my own personal time. And that does take discipline. That does take resilience. And some days, and we were talking about it earlier, the grit to just put in some long hours one day. But I think that mindset, transferring it now into being a 40 plus athlete, is more about being smart. With my training, smarter with my nutrition, smarter with my sleep and recovery, listening to my body better. I'll tell you, even when I was a competitive athlete, there were so many times I would do my second training session with pain because I was like, I have to do this in order to be prepared for that next competition. And that was kind of like, I don't know if that was kind of the mentality of a lot of CrossFitters, but I mean, that was something that I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this because I still want to be pretty dang good at this sport and I don't want to feel like a failure. And that was probably the wrong mindset to have for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And not a healthy one by any means. I would definitely say that's a pretty toxic mindset. But it allowed me now, not only as to learn from that, but to help others learn from that. Because I have staff, I have competitive athletes in my gym that I'm like, hey, learn from my mistakes. Learn where I had my shortfalls, and I want you to be a better athlete. I want you to be healthier, and that way you're competitive longer than I was because I sustained injuries because of my mindset.
Yeah, well, think about how much of it, because it's not like all of a sudden, okay, you hit 40, now you've got problems.
Right.
The reality is, at 40, you're finally forced to confront the problems you've been ignoring in your teens, 20s, and 30s.
No doubt.
Because the mindset in your teens, 20s, and 30s is you're training like a professional athlete, but there's no recovery.
Yep.
And if you have an injury, a lot of times it's just like you ignore it for long enough and then it doesn't bother you day to day, but the body keeps score.
Yes.
Right. And then all of a sudden now we're at that point where like our body's like, listen, dude, you've been burning this from both ends.
Yeah.
For the past 20 years. And now there's no more wick to burn, brother.
Yeah.
Like
that's the best way to look at it right there.
Your room for error is done. I'm sorry, but that's just the way I look at it now is like, I definitely had a college era, right?
Yeah.
I definitely had a college era that was filled with burning the candle at both ends, work hard, play hard, party harder.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have that room anymore. Like
Yeah.
I used it up. That bank account that I had, that I was born with,
is empty.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's depleted. And now I can't draw from that unless I fill it beforehand. So yeah, I think you're exactly right. My mindset has definitely shifted from how well can I do, like at this particular workout or at this competition. Like I don't write my scores down anymore at the gym because I don't care.
Well, and I there's something to be said for tracking strength gains
Sure.
and stuff like that to know what your next training day needs to
Absolutely.
look like. But like you were talking about, I don't need to write a score down if I know I accomplished my goal personally. But I think the biggest thing that more than anything is I'm looking at longevity.
Yep.
And whether it's, hey, I'm going to take a rest day because I'm going to go do some yoga and I'm going to go for a walk, but I'm staying moving because as you and I both know, like the human body is designed to move.
100%.
I feel 1,000 times worse when I'm stagnant, when I'm not moving and my body's like, get up and go. Like,
Yeah.
Even if I'm sore, like I'm going, moving, like ride a bike, go for a walk. I know it's winter, but like, hey, go buy a walking pad and just walk and watch your TV or something, but do something. But I think that's been my biggest shift is that I don't need to go train really hard for 60 to 90 minutes and then, make bad choices throughout the day that, like you said, burn both ends of that candle. I'm going to go train smart for 30, 60 minutes and get what I need out of that and then still be active. Go play with my kids, go, ride a bike with them, go for a walk with them, walk the dog, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that has actually allowed me to stay healthier longer. And I'll tell you, even now, like I still like to train hard, that. But my biggest thing is anytime I've ever gotten hurt in the past, it's purely competitive, meaning I got hurt in a competitive setting at a competition and I'm pushing my limits. And that's what you do in competition. Or my ego got in the way in my normal training and I was just up here and not really listening to my body and I got hurt.
Yeah. So that's why I don't write down the scores anymore because my ego is ever present.
Yeah. Oh, always. Yes.
And part of the maturity that I'm stepping into now is setting that aside.
Yes.
And understanding where that's coming from.
There, like you said, maturity.
Yeah, that maturity.
I think being in
Stepping
my
into that.
late 30s, early 40s, I've definitely learned that maturity. It wasn't there when I was in my 20s and I was training like I had a body that could go forever.
Yeah. So I think the take home here is the ultimate goal has shifted.
Yes.
Whereas previously the goal was to maximize the performance for the sake of performance, right? To maximize the weight of the lift, to maximize the number of reps in the AMRAP, to maximize the score or whatever it is, whatever you're measuring, right? But now the goal is so much more longevity. The goal is so much more that quality of everyday life. And I think one of the things that a lifetime athlete has as an almost unfair advantage when we're looking at things like rest versus work cycles, when we're looking at things like vices and how long it takes to recover from those, when we're looking at things like sleep, because we've performed at this level for so long, our tolerance for not being there is very low.
Yeah.
I can very easily say no to this, that, and the other thing, and it's not even a problem because I just know how I can feel day to day.
Yeah.
I know what I can physically accomplish day to day, and the other thing just becomes not worth it.
Oh, 100%.
So that low tolerance, I think is a blessing. And then the reality is the goal has just shifted. Like, I'm not trying to be the best athlete at CrossFit Unrivaled anymore.
No, and don't get me wrong, there are certain, small pockets of our older population that still want to be competitive.
Sure.
Whether it's a high rocks race, a marathon, you name it, there's still masters athletes everywhere we look. But I think what all masters athletes look at is, how am I going to optimize my performance and still control longevity? Right. And they're just, like you said earlier, more mature, smarter with their training, because they learn where their pitfalls are over the course of their, like you said, being a lifetime athlete.
Yeah. So. And I'm not going to try and tell everybody here that I'm not competitive. I mean, I surely am. I just did an open wrestling tournament. There's like no reason to do that other than like...
But it's good to be outside your comfort zone sometimes.
And also there's the just inherent joy of competition. 1000%. So the other shift is inherently enjoying the process of training and competing versus just doing it to like win per se. But just enjoying that process.
And I think you hit it on the head right there, is enjoying the process. If you can fall in love with the process of whatever you're doing, whatever you're training for, not that short-term dopamine hit goal type thing, but the process, the longevity of it, like that is where I think the real magic is. Like, if you can be, and we always talk about motivation over dedication. Well, dedication's dedication to the process. It's because you love doing what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, because it's your thing and it's what makes you tick and move. Like, that is the key to it. But motivation's fleeting. That comes and goes. Like, some days, I would say more days than not, I don't feel like doing a, 20-minute AMRAP, I don't feel like going to lift that day, but I feel better when I'm done. I know it's going to get me closer to my goals and maintain what I need to maintain going into my 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah. Falling in love with the process. Yeah. And health is absolutely that. It's a process, it's a journey, and loving each step of that journey will keep you on that path. Yeah. More so than just waiting for the motivation to lose 5 pounds or, look a little better in the mirror, or whatever it is the motivation could possibly be for that day.
Those are superficial.
And they're fleeting, like you said. They don't last. So, let's talk about the identity part of this, because you briefly touched on it when you said it's part of what makes you tick.
Yeah.
And for me, being this way or whatever it is, feeling physically fit and capable to do the things that I want to do, right? That's part of who I am.
Right.
And I want to hold on to that part of who I am
as long as possible.
Yeah. I mean, the way I see it is forever. And that's going to shift and change over the years. We'll do this podcast again in another 10 years. We'll talk about fit after 50. But it's who I am. And it's such a vital component of who I am that I don't ever see myself letting it go.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, you're a father, I'm a father. I have 2 boys. I love being outside with them. I love whether it's going up for a hike, messing around, finding, sticks in the wood that we, skipping rocks across the pond. Like, hey, I want to go run with them when they're playing their sports. Like, I want to be physically active. I don't want to be that parent on the sideline that is just watching and never actively participating with my kids. I think that is part of who I am. Like that injected parent, not, screaming at my kids, but obviously physically active with them. I want them to know that dad's going to be always be up for throwing a ball or going for a jog or a walk or something.
Yeah. When my children come into their physical power, right, I want to be walking alongside them at that moment in time and for that season. Yeah. And when they're like, hey, Papa, let's go do this thing. I'll be like, yeah, man, let's rock and roll. I'll be a little bit slower than you.
Sure.
Wait a little bit up.
They're going to have to earn that though.
Oh yeah.
They're going to have to work for it.
The crown is not given.
Yeah. My dad always made me work for it. Trust me.
The crown is not taken.
I learned that one from him for sure.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about recovery.
Yes.
Cause this is so huge.
It's vital for the 40 plus.
Oh my God. So the biggest shift for me personally right now is I had never before this most recent season of getting back into the CrossFit gym, starting with, coaching the Pee Wee wrestling and wrestling again myself and all of that. The biggest difference is the recovery piece.
Yeah.
And so I've got dedicated work days and now I have dedicated recovery days.
Yeah.
And it's so clutch. My recovery day looks like a combo of stretching and foam rolling and, prehab, rehab, stability type work. And that happens for me every Tuesday morning for sure. Depending on what my schedule looks like, it might happen on a Friday, but it's definitely going to happen on a Saturday and a Sunday. And I have a much more even split of work and recovery. And it's not just like, haphazard. It's very dedicated,
structured.
Yeah. And I have that carved out just as important as my workout now. Yep. What does your recovery look like?
So I'll be a little bit more flexible with my recovery days. But typically I'm a Thursday, Sunday, recovery day. I like to still move. My biggest thing is walking. Not just for recovery. There's great benefits for physical activity with just walking, but it's more of a mental break for me. Going out for a 20, 30 minute walk is just a mental, it's almost like a therapy session. I just kind of decompress. That's the mental side of it. I do kind of like you talked about doing like rehab stuff. I have some issues with my back and my shoulder and my neck, and there's certain things I like to do on those days. But typically Sunday looks like family day. That's where I don't worry too much about work or training. I don't do any training on Sundays. I actually made it a point to never train on Sundays because that's where I want to make sure that I give enough and pour enough attention into my kids or my wife, obviously. And I just want to feel like I am not worrying about anything else but them. So that's my Sunday. But Thursdays are typically like, I'll come see you, get a nice adjustment, go do some walking. Like I said earlier, my rehab stuff. Every once a month, I go get dry needled and cupping done by a physical therapist. If you have a lot of injuries in the past, those are great modalities to implement, obviously with chiropractic. Mm-hmm. But make sure you're getting somebody that obviously knows what they're doing because it does work wonders for me. And I think it has to be a combination of different modalities like chiropractic, yoga, dry needling, cupping, like all of it works, but you got to make sure that you're doing it on a routine, I think.
Yeah. Routine, dedicated time.
Yes.
Boundaried out.
Yeah.
And consistently, regularly.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, there are certain training weeks that I will throw in a third rest day. And that's because I still like to lift heavy. I still like to push some intensity on certain workouts. And some weeks your body is just like, hey, bro, hit the brakes. And now I've learned to rest more. And I've mentioned it earlier. I have bad feet, unfortunately. I have arthritis. I have multiple surgeries on my one foot. So certain training days will cause me to be a little not too happy with getting on my feet and doing more training. So I got to listen to my body and I'll take that rest day. But I'll go do something else and avoid maybe some high intense stuff.
What does listening to your body feel like for you? Like what kind of messages are you trying to key in on and listen to?
Well, pain is definitely one. If you have any type of pain, you definitely need to obviously go see somebody and then rest. But my thing is more so inflammation, like soreness. If my soreness or inflammation lasts for more than a day, I'm probably going to take a rest day on that second day and just recover a little bit, do some yoga, do some stretching, do my rehab stuff, not lift heavy at all, like back it off. Maybe if I do feel like lifting, it's a totally separate area from where I'm feeling it, obviously. And my reps are higher with lighter weight, just to move, just to get some blood circulation and get the muscles moving. And we can talk more about the kind of what I would recommend as far as structure goes for maybe the person just getting back into training. But that's kind of how I look at my recovery days, that if I'm listening to my body.
Yeah. For me, what I'm listening for feels a lot like tightness, range of motion that's not quite what I'm used to, like joint movement that's not as fluid as really it should be. Definitely, obviously, pain is like your body's like
stop.
warning sign, like something's wrong.
Right.
Let's drastically, address this immediately. But some of the more subtle things are going to be.
You brought up tightness.
Yeah.
A lot of people, when they're like stiff and tight, they're like, oh, I need to stop moving. No, actually, you need to move.
That's when you need to move more.
Exactly. And it doesn't mean you need to go load up the body with weight or anything, but you need to go move.
Yes.
Like your body's telling you like, hey, we're stiff. We need to go loosen up. Like, go do that.
Yeah. Open up these tissues, move these joints.
Get those muscles moving.
Move the muscles, put, good static body weight load through your tendons and all the ligaments and stuff like that. Yeah, those are the days when I'm like, okay, I need to be a little bit more on the foam roller, a little bit more in the stretching, a little bit more in the mobility work.
Yeah. Like you said, range of motion stuff.
Yeah, range of motion stuff. The other thing I'm looking for in terms of what my body's trying to tell me, like you said, inflammation is a huge indicator. That word gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah, it's kind of a broad brush.
Yeah, so for me, what that feels like is I can kind of feel the hot spots in my body talking to me more. They're like the canaries in the coal mine. So you've got, you've got like the toe, the neck, and some other spots, right? Mine is going to be my knee.
Yeah.
My low back, not so much anymore, but sometimes. Some of the like the hip flexors are going to be like just more talkative.
Sure.
And my skin, those are kind of the areas where I'll experience that inflammation. But what that feels like for me is just, I can feel like a bit of a puffiness. I can feel like a little bit more of an apprehension to move. I can feel like more of a tenderness. And, every once in a while it is just outright pain. How do you experience that inflammation for somebody that's like, I've heard that word. What is he actually talking about?
Yeah, I think tenderness actually is a really good one that you used just now. And that is probably the best way I would describe it, is the tenderness of the inflammation of the area. Like, does it hurt to the touch? Like, oh, that's it. Okay. And sometimes, it's just, I need some extra attention. Maybe it's going to get a massage, because I have too much inflammation in that area and I need it to relax, or going to get dry needled and cupping done. But I think tenderness is probably the best description. I like that one, because I know for me, when I'm feeling inflamed, those areas are tender. Like, just not just tender to touch, but like tender to move.
Tender to move. Yeah. 100%. You had said you had some recommendations
as far as training goes.
Yeah. Let's take a minute and, let's talk about what you brought here, because I think that's extremely valuable. You've been doing this professionally for a long time. So a couple of things. Number one, the proof is in the pudding that this is something you can do long term.
It is. Yes.
Which is something you hear all the time, that it's not possible to do it long term. It totally is. You can do what you want to do long term. But you've also worked with countless individuals that have gone from the couch to Murph.
Yes.
In like less than a year.
Oh,
and
for sure.
That's pretty amazing. So lay it on us.
Well, I mean, if you're, like you said, starting off, just getting off the couch, I think focus around 4 key areas. And those 4 key areas of training should be how you're structuring the training weekly. If you're not strength training at all, that needs to happen. And I'll dive more into that in here in a second. If you're not doing cardio, whether it be long and slow or high intense short, like, we got to add those things. There's huge benefits, and I'll talk about those more. But a lot of people are like, hey, I want to get back into yoga. Well, okay, great. That's moving, but we want to be very well rounded with our fitness. And that's why I love CrossFit. We do so much, but not everybody loves CrossFit. So if you're going to do any type of training, focus on 4 pillars. The one obviously is resistance training, making sure that you're lifting, I would say 3 to 5 times a week, some type of resistance training, whether it's with weights or your body weight. I know you mentioned, when you weren't able to get to the gym, you were doing a lot of the beach body stuff. That's resistance training without a lot of weight. Like, you might have a dumbbell, but I mean, you're still doing resistance training. That's good, but that's a starting block, But a lot of people don't put a lot of attention into their resistance training. A lot of women, and I'm not going to dive in too much to the women because we're talking about men, but a lot of women will say, I don't want to get bulky. I've been doing this. I've been lifting weights since I was in middle school. I'm not freaking Arnold, but it takes a lifetime of a very specific type of training to put on massive amounts of muscle.
That's like saying you don't want to do a side hustle because you don't want to become a billionaire.
Right, exactly.
So yeah, the amount of time, effort, and energy it takes to get bulky is like astronomical. It doesn't happen for most of the people that want it to happen for themselves.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? So that I always just laugh. That's funny.
It is funny. And I always kind of give a little, when I hear that from a new client, and I'm like, don't worry, you're not.
Zero concerns about getting bulky.
And
it's not going to happen.
But how we train, how we resistance train is really important, right? We want to strengthen tendons. We want to obviously build the muscle mass, but we also want to work range of motion, because last thing I need to do is build my muscle up so much that I can't turn around and wipe my butt when I'm going to the bathroom. So we have to work range of motion. We have to work time under tension. We got to work a lot of different aspects. So one of the things that I always talk about with time under tension is emphasizing contraction and eccentric. A lot of times when you come to my class, what do we do when we're practicing movements? We do slow reps, right? Mm-hmm. That's a lot of benefit to you learning that mind-muscle connection of controlling that movement, right? Controlling that eccentric, that down portion of the movement, all right? And then knowing how to contract those muscles. So even as you get into your 40s and 50s, if you're just starting off to get into weight training, there's obviously that physical benefit of time under tension, but that's the mental benefit too, creating those neural pathways to those muscle groups that a lot of people don't even think about. So you're actually getting smarter, all right?
Yeah. Ooh, you said nervous system.
I know. I got you excited.
Yeah,
I see how you just perked up over there. But also when it comes to other types of training in the gym, a lot of people neglect explosive movements. There is so much benefit to plyometrics, to like 1 rep explosive movements, like jumping for distance, right? Or like what we do, a lot of Olympic lifting, where we do like 1 or 2 good, very explosive reps, which does help you actually as far as longevity goes, because that helps with balance, agility, coordination. And what is the biggest common injury of elderly? Falls. And if you're not coordinated enough to move your own body in such a manner, or to react from maybe something coming at you, you might just fall and break a hip, you know? And so there's a lot of great benefits to working on explosive, powerful training. It doesn't need to be all the time. It could be once or twice a week mixed in with your normal strength training. And it doesn't have to be anything crazy. If you don't feel comfortable jumping on a box, jump for distance, right? If you're maybe having an injury, there's kettlebell swings, right? There's other bands that we can implement. And you know this, there's just an infinite amount of ways we can train. You know, and that's why coming to a trainer or coming to a gym that can guide you is so important. But make sure you're getting some type of explosive training in. Time under tension when you're underweight, you know, those are key points to a lot of training that a lot of people don't realize. Now, there's definitely some sweet spots as far as reps and weight goes, and we can talk more about that if you like. But as far as conditioning goes, if you're not doing, like I said earlier, some type of high intensity training at least 1 time a week, you're missing out on a lot of benefits. Not just cardiovascular, VO2 stuff, but actual threshold training. And I always say this, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's not just in the gym, but that's in life. Mm-hmm. I mean, you want to talk, whoops, I'm sorry guys. You want to talk about real changes to your mindset. If you can get uncomfortable, like, you know, being a business owner, how many times have you and I probably shared experiences where we had to do uncomfortable jobs or uncomfortable conversations with other people. But one of the things as it does is it gets you out of that comfort zone. So now you're like, oh, I got this. And there's so many benefits to getting it. And just so a side note, there's a great book out there. It's called Comfort Crisis. If you have never read it, go read it. It talks about those kind of things, getting out of your comfort zone, not just in your training, but your mental mindset that'll prepare you for everything you do in life. And then the other fourth thing on that pillar, so I talked about explosive training. I talked about time under tension with your resistance training. I talked about HIIT, the high intensity stuff. Go do long, slow, right? Go do that long, slow endurance training. If we're not getting at least a 30 plus minute, long, slow conditioning type piece in once a week, we're missing out on a lot of other benefits to our physical training. So, and that doesn't have to be running. Like I told you guys, like my foot is a big issue. Running for that long, I'm limping for days on days. I'll go ride a bike, stationary bike, a rower, go put on a weighted vest. And walk around your neighborhood for 30 minutes, there's a huge amount of benefits there's even more studies coming out to just walking with a weighted vest, and as the weather starts to get nicer, take the family out on a hike, go throw on that pack. But if you're not getting in at least one day a week of some type of long, slow conditioning, and what I mean by long, slow is you're still getting your heart rate up, you're still working up a sweat, but you and I could have a conversation if we were next to each other. We could still talk to each other. But when you're doing high intensity, that's like, I can't breathe, I can't talk, and there's a lot of benefits to those two types of conditioning. But the resistance training, that is, in my opinion, one of the most beneficial. And you're going to talk about longevity. One of the best precursors to longevity and there's studies that you and I know is like lean muscle mass, grip strength. If you don't have strong legs and grip strength, that's a huge indicator that you might not be seeing that life expectancy.
Yeah, for sure. And that doesn't mean go out and just train your quads and your forearms. Those are just things that we use
like
to
Popeye over there.
Those are things that we use to measure an indicator to show that somebody is doing resistance training and just literally lifting heavy weight. Super huge for that longevity component for sure. Let's talk about some hormone stuff.
Oh yeah, hormones is the big topic these days,
dude. Everybody peptides is a big one.
Testosterone,
and then, the testosterone thing, like this low T epidemic that we're going through right now. I want to dispel some myths right now.
Sure.
And the myth is that testosterone starts dipping in your 40s, and that is a myth.
Yeah.
The research that we've had until recently the research that we've always had is that testosterone really shouldn't start dipping until like your 70s.
Hopefully.
I mean, that's in an ideal situation, perfectly healthy individual without all the garbage that we got going on, in our world. Really, testosterone shouldn't start dipping until then. And, that's part of why, number one, men are at such lower risk of like breaking things in terms of like bones, hips and stuff like that, because we have that hormone kind of level high for so much longer than, a, physiologically normal female. But it's also why old man strength is like literally a thing. It's a real thing.
Yep.
Like, there's things that I can't do as well now as I could when I was a younger man, but there's a lot of things that I'm way better at now. And one of those things is lifting heavy ass weight. I'm just better at it now. The old man strength is a thing. So what do you do to keep yourself hormonally balanced and healthy on a daily basis?
Well, let me give you a little backstory. I actually had an experience with low T.
Okay, this is getting juicy.
So when I was active duty, my last tour was with Spec Ops. I was a supportive role on the medical side for the teams, and our training was at high tempo, and it was always high stress training, whether and live fire training, this kind of stuff. They would put their bodies, and I would put my body under amount of stress and physical fatigue and lack of sleep. And that was a huge one. And we can touch on that for the hormone health. But And I was in my late 20s at that time, and I was seeing my T because I would get blood work done, and I was seeing my numbers dip down to like what you're talking about, like to a guy in his 70s. And I was like, what is happening? But I started talking to more people about what can fix this. And one of the big issues was I was always traveling West Coast, East Coast, back and forth, like every 2 to 3 weeks. I was losing my sleep rhythm. I was eating like crap because I was eating whatever I could just to keep me going. And then all that high stress, that high cortisol, just being in that environment like nonstop. And then when I would come back, because I was already a gym owner at that time, as soon as I was back from that, I'm still doing stressful stuff, trying to get the business up and running, because those were the early days. And I was seeing my numbers just plummet. And so one of the biggest things that I saw, and it unfortunately took a little bit longer because I had to kind of wait till I was out of that environment. But once I left that environment, I got more consistent good sleep. I was eating way healthier. I controlled my stress better. Stress management is huge. Cortisol plays a big part in how it affects your body's testosterone production. But I started seeing my numbers come back up, and now I'm good. But I mean, there's supplements you can take that'll benefit, testosterone production. Sure. But sleep, nutrition, stress management is huge.
Yeah, we're seeing that low testosterone in special operations communities, and it's rampant.
Oh yeah,
and it's that chronic stress exposure, long term,
and not just in the spec ops community, but like police, firefighters. They're constantly a 12-hour shift on edge the whole time.
Yeah, that chronic high stress is so bad for your body. So I love that your list of things that you did is the same list of things that you would do to be healthy anywhere else, right? And we touched on this the last time I did a podcast. Health for one organ system or one hormone doesn't look different than health for anything else. And it really is important to get good quality sleep. Yeah. It's important to get good quality nutrition. The things that go in and on your body are the right things at the right times most of the time. Yep. It's really important to be in an environment where you can experience stress, but also experience the resolution of that stress. Yeah. Stress resolution is something that we rarely have, and it's never built in. So in the olden days, right, if you and I had to fight a grizzly bear, right, we would experience high stress.
Is that fight or flight?
Fight or flight.
Yeah.
Then we would either have run away, died, or killed the grizzly bear.
Yeah.
We would totally kill the grizzly bear, by the way.
You would wrestle that thing.
Heck yeah, man. Full Nelson. So we would kill the grizzly bear, and then we would experience that stress resolution.
Yeah.
But the way our culture is built right now is people are not experiencing the stress resolution.
No, it's go, go, go.
The stress continues.
Yep.
The grizzly bear never dies. You never run away from it, whatever that is. So having those periods of stress and then de-stress are so clutch. So clutch for that hormonal health.
Yeah.
And the take home here is like, if you take care of your body, you wake up every day and your body's giving you 100%.
It'll take care of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your body is giving you 100% every single day. You just got to meet it halfway.
Right.
So you got to do all the things you got to do.
Yeah. And I will touch on we can talk about environmental factors, with all the chemicals that are in our foods, plastic, stuff like that. That's why me and my wife switched to glass Tupperware, stuff like that, keep away the plastics. There's so many other things that are in our environment that if we can mitigate a lot of that, that'll help.
Absolutely. And it's a big topic to talk about.
Oh yeah. We could go on forever.
The thing you got to do is just you take one piece at a time,
right,
and you implement one improvement. Yes. And then when that becomes a lifestyle, you implement the next improvement. Because if you try to tackle it all at once,
you burn out.
You're not going to be able to do it.
Yes. And that's actually how I approach my clients when we talk about, weight loss or performance goals. Like, hey, one thing at a time.
Yep.
Because like you said, you throw everything at it at once. Hey, if you can manage that, I don't know who can.
Never met somebody that can.
I don't know who would, right? That's why we delegate a lot of things as business owners, right? Because otherwise we burn out.
Yeah.
So I would tell anybody, no, focus on one thing, whether it's, hey, get up and, start accumulating 7,000 steps a day. Like that's you moving. All right, now let's focus on that nutrition. Cool. All right, let's get that. No, let's start focusing on the strength training, one thing at a time, but it's got, like you said, it's got to be a habit first.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about nutrition.
Oh yeah.
So huge. You are somebody that coaches people.
Sure.
On their nutrition. We just did an awesome, I guess you could call it a testimony, but I really just wanted to highlight some wins for, one of our mutual, friends and clients, Jeremy Jackson, but he's been doing nutritional coaching. He's crushing it. He is crushing. He's been doing nutritional coaching with you for a while.
Yep.
I've got my own way that I kind of go about nutrition, but I am probably not the best person to help somebody else like operationalize it into something that they can do, but you are that person.
Well, the thing is I always tell people, like, nutrition looks different for everybody. Like, you could have a twin, but your daily nutrition will be drastically different because of your lifestyle, your activity level, your stresses, like everything that centers around what you do day to day is going to be how I tailor your, like you said, like just guidance, like I'm guiding you down that path. Like, I'm going to hold your hand for a while, but, one of the big things that I always focus on first is, with the nutrition is protein. Like, are you eating enough protein, especially if you're in the gym with me training? If you're not eating protein, well, we're not going to be recovering. We're not going to be building up that muscle that you need for longevity. So I always start with, as far as nutrition goes, on the protein side. Like, show me that you're eating enough protein. And, everybody always talks about counting macros. That can be very stressful for a lot of people. A lot of people can actually spiral out of control because they're so anxious about, did I track everything? And that's where I think becoming a very personalized coach, like learning that aspect, that personalization comes into play. Like, if I know that my client has a former eating disorder, I'm not tracking. We're not tracking. We're going to go off intuitive eating for a little while, and we're going to see how that goes, because there's just so much history to that. But if I have somebody like Jeremy was great. Like, Jeremy is so type A, logged everything, showed me his, notes. I could be like, dude, you're crushing it. Or, hey, we need to take this out and you're going to focus on this instead. But big thing for a lot of people is finding what works for them. And that's where I think getting with a coach, especially if you've never maybe paid attention to your nutrition and how it should be structured, get with a nutrition coach, get with a registered dietitian, get with somebody that's going to give you or hold your hand for a little while and give you that proper education to where it then becomes a habit, and then it can become intuitive eating. Personally, I'm at that point where I don't need to weigh and measure everything, but I can intuitively eat and know that I'm getting a right amount of protein and the right amount of carbs and fats that'll fuel my body for the next training session or the next day. But big thing is that when I know that I need to maybe, I got a little too happy over the holidays, I can cut a few things out and still be very, very much in control of my nutrition. But if you're new to it, like, you got to get with somebody. Like, sometimes just going on to an online calculator and figuring those things out, they're not going to give you those habits and lifestyle helpful tips that are going to set you up for success to get you to your goal.
Yeah. And I think that coaching provides a level of accountability.
Correct.
And forced transparency that I think is really beneficial.
Yeah.
But
weekly check-ins with a coach is going to be, holding your feet to the fire.
Yeah, for sure. But nutrition, super important, especially after 40.
Oh yeah.
So clutch.
And we talked a little bit about the alcohol side of it. And
let's talk about drugs and vices right now.
Drugs and vices. All right.
Yeah.
I said earlier in the podcast, I am just stepping further and further away from alcohol. I think with every passing year as I get older, I just don't want it. It doesn't make me feel good. It's a poison that we're putting in our body. It doesn't mean that I don't drink. I just don't go looking for it. And like, I think a long time ago, it was one of those things where, maybe not a long time ago, but maybe in my 30s, where I started to feel the effects of it more and more. I was still in that mindset of like, well, I need to drink with everybody else that's drinking to have a good time in that social setting. And I got away from that mindset. I don't need to have alcohol to still have a good time at a get together or a party. I can still enjoy being around other people that are drinking. They're fine. But it's now outside of how it makes my body feel. I just don't need it. Like,
yeah,
cool.
I think I've just gotten to the point where it's just not worth it.
Well, definitely not worth it.
And the amount of time that I enjoy it, even I'm in, like, let's say you and I were to go out and have a couple of drinks. When it first started to kind of bother me, the days after, right?
Yeah.
I would still enjoy it significantly while it was going on. So it would kind of be like this, tug of war, like, well, I'm just going to have fun today.
And then you're paying for it.
Right. So it was almost like, nowadays it's almost like the amount of time that it's enjoyable, even in the midst of having the drinks, becomes shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And I'm feeling those negative effects sooner and sooner and sooner and sooner, to the point where, like you said, I really don't drink a lot these days.
No.
And I don't really have a strong desire for it. Like, every once in a while I have one. I'm not like I'm not like a monk or anything.
No. And we were talking about earlier, I was trying to recall the last time I had a drink, and I think I had one drink when my mom had us over for Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yep.
And I was like, cool, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. But there's not just alcohol in terms of
there's other things.
Vices out there.
That's
right?
the one that's legal.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing.
There's other vices out there. You ever get into any cannabis at all?
Cannabis in the terms of like smoking?
Either smoking, ingesting, edibles, just cannabis as a plant. Have you ever done any of that?
I did a little bit of smoking when I was younger. I don't smoke anything now because I value my lungs.
Oh yeah. Can't hang.
But I will be honest. Oh, you're getting a little off mic there.
Like this?
So I will say from time to time I'll have a gummy. Nothing strong by any means, but just a means of just trying to relax. Maybe it was a really stressful week and I feel very, what's the term my wife uses? Overstimulated,
Drew gets overstimulated
sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes. I mean, we talk to people all day.
Oh yeah.
We overdo it as far as maybe, pouring too much of ourselves into other people.
Yeah. Then the other, just as a side note here, when you're in the business of helping people, sometimes over the course of a week, you could have the same conversation. With 40 different people, and then by conversation 41 you're just done. You're just done with the conversation. So
it was like studying for finals and your brain's just fried.
It's like I can't answer this question one more time. I love you guys.
Well, I mean, you've been to my classes. How many times do I repeat myself?
I try to be the good
good
kid
you're
in class.
Drew. You're good.
Easy to coach.
Yes. Be the good student.
Yes. Yeah, I'll definitely do some cannabis here and there, but I do not really smoke it because I'll definitely feel that for days after.
I just don't like what it does to my lungs. I've done it in the past. I just don't like the effects on my lungs.
Yeah. I'm not saying I never will, or don't ever, but especially like if I have some like goals or like, I've got a wrestling tournament coming up, then it's just not worth feeling that way afterwards. But
I will say it does leave me a little more groggy. Like usually I'm very much a morning person. Like I can, after a good night's sleep, I spring up out of bed, I can get ready. And whereas, no offense, honey, but my wife, she's a little slower to get up in the morning. She needs her cup of coffee. She needs a few minutes of silence, to be operational again. Whereas I feel very get up and go, right? I'm very more alert. And I think most men maybe are typically.
I am not a morning person. No.
Oh, okay. I've always read that more men are morning people than women.
I understand that. Yeah. Courtney's the morning person in our relationship. If it's not a day that I'm waking up with an alarm clock, she's absolutely out of bed before I am.
Okay.
And she's already had her time in the morning, and I'm just like,
maybe I just like being up early before everybody else.
To get to the gym at 5, brother, it is such a battle. Like, I'm literally
You're doing good at it, though.
Thank you. I am doing good at it. But you know what? I have to ask myself before I get out of bed, Marco, what kind of man do you want to be?
Yeah.
That's the only thing that gets me out of bed. For me to answer For me to answer that question, I got to get out of bed.
Yeah. Just to go back to what I was saying is that if I do have any type of cannabis the night before as a relaxant, like, it puts me in a deep sleep, and I'm a little groggier getting up and trying to get the motor running. Yeah. I just feel a little more foggy.
It's not one of those things that you can enjoy in the moment and then it's out of your system by the time you wake up. So it's not something we're doing every day by any stretch of the imagination. It's like a once in a while, either recreational treat or just kind of wind down thing that we're going to do every once in a while. Now, I will say, I do have a nicotine vice for sure.
Yours is nicotine. Mine is caffeine.
All right. We'll talk about the nicotine. It's a hell of a drug, man.
Yeah. I've been there, and we were talking about this. I did dip when I was in high school. So, I know where you're coming from, but I did kick the dipping habit, right at the end of high school. So
yeah, I've kicked it twice so far.
It keeps coming back around.
Coming back, sweet lady Ann. But constantly being in, luckily for me, a very loving and supportive relationship with a woman who is literally the queen of moderation, kind of helps me to take steps towards that moderation, because I don't want anything that I need. Does that make sense? I don't want to be addicted to anything.
Like, you gotta have it.
Right. So making sure I keep that relationship as healthy as I can. And I fail a lot of days, like we all do. Everybody's got something. Luckily for me lately, the caffeine's not been too big of a deal. I can do my morning cup and I'm good.
Even on those early 5 a.m. workouts?
Yeah, I don't have coffee before I leave.
Oh, really?
The house. No, I work out fasted and no caffeine.
Yeah, I work out fasted too, but I do have caffeine in my system.
Yeah, no. I just drink like a big glass of water before I leave the house.
Oh, that wake you up, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really it.
I think maybe mine is more like, okay, I got to mentally prep myself for these 5 a.m. people.
My job at the gym at 5 is way different than your job at the gym.
Yeah, it is two totally different things.
Right. So I have a workout to wake me up, and if I start the workout sleepy, it's fine. I'll wake up eventually.
I'll get you going.
Yeah, we'll wake up eventually.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know if it was I think it was probably right around when Ainsley was born, my first. I think the lack of sleep and still trying to do early hours, late nights, stuff like that. I really turned to the caffeine, and I haven't kicked it. And that's going on 10 years. And it used to be like, I'd have a cup of coffee or, here and there. But now it's like, okay, 2 cups of coffee in the morning, 2 cups of coffee in the afternoon. Or I will say one of my big vices is a C4 in the afternoon. Not that I do that every day. But maybe on some of those real long days where I have a lot of clients, a lot of coaches or coaching classes, that kind of thing, where I'm just like, okay, I'm physically running down and like just getting a quick meal in is not enough. I need to really up the ante here. I'll throw in that C4 to get me through the rest of the day. But that's about it. I mean, I would say that for unhealthy. I would say that for people watching, everybody's gonna have a vice. Oh yeah.
There are a few people that don't have any vices. But I think the thing to think about is to make sure that you don't have very many vices.
Yes. And
that you don't do all of the things, right? Your life is going to look way different, and your health is going to look way different, and your fitness is going to look way different if you've got an alcohol habit and a cannabis habit and a nicotine habit and a caffeine habit and a sugar habit. Because sugar for me, I count that in the recreational treat category. It's
same
in my brain. It's a drug.
Yeah.
And that's how I treat it.
Well, that's how its effects on the brain are.
Yeah. And that's how its effects on the whole body are.
Sure.
Brain as well.
Yeah.
So to make sure that, especially as we're maturing, that the vices stay treats.
Yes.
And that we don't have many vices or multiples of them that we're doing all the time. Like I said earlier, we wake up in the morning and our body is trying 100%. And we don't need to give it more obstacles than it needs to try to keep us healthy and fit long term.
Totally.
So not a saint, but
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So take it from a fellow sinner.
Yeah, we're all sinners. We're all good though.
Yeah, that's our modus operandum there. All right, let's recap on the keys that we really kind of outlined here.
Yeah.
So number one, we talked about that mindset and identity shift.
Yeah.
And really making sure that our goals are congruent with our, desire for what we want out of our lives long term.
And where you're at. Yeah.
Where you're starting, where you're at, the tools you have at your disposal, and, why are you even doing it?
Yeah.
And for me, it's always going to be that I want to be present. I want to be physically fit, active. I don't ever want to be a burden. And I just want to be able to enjoy my life.
As long as possible.
Yeah. I want to be able to enjoy my life to the fullest for my whole lifetime.
Yeah. And I mean, we've probably all had some type of relative at some point in our lives that became dependent on somebody physically. And watching that deterioration is not a good thing. And like it was, and I watched it with multiple family members as they aged. I watched it with my dad through cancer, and it's like, man, I really want to be able to be self-sufficient. I don't want other people to feel like I'm a burden on them, and I want to do what I'm doing now for as long as possible. Yeah. That's my biggest thing too.
Yep.
And and being a father, like that's being there physically as much it is as an emotional or a mentor as well. Like I got to be there physically then.
Yeah.
Especially as, a dad of a daughter.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me find out.
Yeah, exactly.
The other thing we touched on was our work and recovery cycles and really paying much more close, diligent attention to recovery, making sure it's done in a conscientious way. And for me, it's going to look like good quality sleep. For me, it's going to look like obviously chiropractic care. I get adjusted once or twice a week for sure. My wife I'm very lucky. She's an acupuncturist, so I do get acupuncture sessions. I'm very skilled because of the tools that I have at my disposal to do that kind of soft tissue. My wife does cupping.
Yep.
Red light therapy. And I'm doing those recovery days. I'm doing the stretching. I'm doing the foam rolling. I'm doing the mobility. I'm doing the prehab rehab stability exercises. And really that's been a huge piece for me.
Yeah. I think it comes to mindset too, when you're talking about recovery, because a lot of people just feel like they always have to be doing something to get closer to that goal. Well, guess what? Recovery does get you closer to that goal. But if you neglect it, you're going to take longer to get there. And a lot of people don't understand that key component. Like that is huge, especially as we age, because the body just doesn't, heal itself as fast because, we're getting older. That's it. That's the facts of it.
The body always heals, but the reality is that it does take longer.
Yep. That's it.
The other thing we talked about was nutrition. We don't have the time in this podcast.
That's a long topic.
Yeah, it's a long topic, but here's an invitation and maybe a challenge to deep dive into your nutrition. And from personal experience, it's really freaking worth it to just feel awesome.
Yeah.
It really is.
And I don't think a lot of people realize how good they can feel until they clean up their nutrition. And then it's like, for me personally, it's like, man, is this what it's like feeling without inflammation and being sore or achy? Like tender was the word I loved. And I know now for me, if I have a bad meal or let's say some alcohol, it's like, oh, why do I do this to myself? And because I feel so much better, I have more energy. I don't have that pain in my body. So you don't know how good your body can feel unless you eat right.
Yeah. I mean, what we eat literally becomes us.
Yes,
and
exactly.
I want to be built of the of the best ingredients possible.
Yeah. Best quality fuel out there.
Yeah. Best quality fuel available. We touched on hormones. We touched on especially testosterone as men, and the big take home here for everybody is, it's no different than being healthy in any other realm.
Yeah.
Minimizing stress, recovering from stress, maybe taking yourself out of some environments that are going to be causing that chronic stress if that's what you need to do. But also, good quality sleep, good quality nutrition is all going to be huge for that hormonal health.
Yep.
We also talked about vices, and my big take home here is minimize your vices.
Yeah.
Don't do them all at once.
Moderation.
Moderation for sure. And all right. Well, I think that's everything, brother.
Yep.
I would say for anybody watching this, this channel, these conversations are meant to open doors for your further education and self-discovery. It's not going to be you watch this thing and you've got it all handled.
No. This
is an invitation. It's an invitation to dive in. You're welcome to reach out to Drew at CrossFit Unrivaled. I will meet you at 5 a.m. on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday if you want to come work out with me at the gym. I would love that. Drew would love that.
Yes.
He's available for you for nutritional counseling if you absolutely need it. And I absolutely think that it is a very worthy endeavor. And obviously, we're here at the practice at Accordo Chiropractic to help you with that central nervous system, joint health, full body health component. But this is an invitation. This is an invitation for you to invest in your health, to walk along that journey, and to take the words that Drew so wisely expounded upon in the beginning, to fall in love with that journey of health and to fall in love with each step on that path. It's absolutely worth it.
Yeah, it is. Start the conversation. Do it now, though.
Yeah, don't wait.
Yep.
Time for waiting's over. Drew, thank you so much, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Love our time
Appreciate
together.
it.
Yes, sir.